Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is going to be a little different due to a question I was recently asked. In short, that question was, have I ever had to deploy my sidearm in a self-defense situation? And the answer to that would be yes. Okay, I suppose that calls for a bit of the backstory. Many years ago, I found myself in a grocery store parking lot waiting on a friend who had gone inside to buy a few items. It was a really nice day out, and I decided to wait outside my vehicle and watch the world go by. It wasn't long before I noticed four guys heading in my general direction. As they passed, I noticed one of them glaring at me like I'd just stolen his girlfriend. And I assure you that I hadn't done anything of the sort. Well, they made it about another 40 feet past me before the fellow that was glaring at me suddenly stopped, turned on his heels, flipped me off, and proceeded to hurl some profanity at me. This momentarily took me off guard a bit, but at the same time, this unexpected outburst from a complete stranger also put me on high alert. Still ranting, he started to walk back towards me, my adrenaline level suddenly beginning to spike when his three friends turned and followed. I hadn't done or said anything to these upstanding members of society for them to be upset about. I suppose just being there, existing, was reason enough. Regardless, it quickly became apparent that for whatever reason, I was about to become the guest of honor at an ass-kicking party. Borrowing a line from Ron White, I wasn't sure how many of them it was going to take to whip my ass, but I knew how many of them they were going to use. Honestly, I thought about running, but they were converging on me pretty quickly. Thankfully, they failed to notice me draw my gun and lower it to my side. When they were about 15 yards away, I flipped the safety off my 1911, which was a GI model very similar to this one, and then I aimed it directly at the center of the mouthy one's chest. The instant they saw the gun, they froze in place like store mannequins. That wide-eyed look of horror on their faces was priceless. A split second later, two of them bailed and ran. A few more seconds passed before the other two started backing away before turning and kicking it into high gear. You know, I don't recall saying a single word the entire time. Still haven't a clue to this day as to what their actual problem was. I'm not sure how that mindset works, but apparently there are just days when you look like you could use a good beating, and I suppose that's all it takes sometimes. A few minutes later, my friend came back and we headed over to his place. We'd actually driven about 2 miles before I went ahead and told him what had happened. My buddy seemed to be more unnerved about the whole thing than I was. The next day he called and asked if I would give him some advice about buying a firearm, and perhaps show him how to properly handle and shoot one. You know, I've sometimes wondered what story those guys tell when they speak about that incident. I'm pretty sure it starts out with something like this. Hey, did I ever tell you about the time some maniac tried to kill us? Well, anyway, that's my story. Until next time, practice often, shoot straight, and thanks for stopping by.